they actually are on their phones and maybe they're sending emails or things like that. But it's kind of like, wow, like we're here to have a meeting to talk to each other. And so if one person, like, say they don't have their phones out, if one person has a phone out and puts it down, even if it's facing the table, then other people reach into their pockets and all that, and then they place their phones on the table. And that's still, I'm going to pay attention to you until something happens, until I get a notification, until this thing I'm waiting for. And I don't think it's as kind of welcoming, I guess, or engaging to be with somebody who kind of has their phone out because you always feel like you're hopefully more interesting than the phone, that you are actually have their attention, that they want to be there with you. And, you know, my goodness, please put your phones away if you're going into a meeting because the reason for the meeting is because we have to be together and we have to get work done that we can't get done on our phones or on our computers. So it's really respectful, I think, to silence your phone and before even coming into the meeting, put it out of sight. You can have it on you, but it'd be great if just for that meeting, if it's possible to not check your phone. That would be so great. So yeah, that dopaminergic response, it's getting these notifications and updates. It does provide a dopamine hit, and we kind of crave these really feel good chemicals. And so we're trying to, try to feel good, try to do things that are kind of easy and pleasant and stay in our comfort zones. And the real growth is always outside of your comfort zone. It's always on the other side of that activity or those phone calls or a meeting or a group getting together. You always have to go through something to get to the other side. And in a way, everything that we fear, you know, you have to go through it. So, in a sense, everything that you've always wanted is on the other side of fear. You have to go through the situation. It's kind of like when Tony Robbins has people walking very quickly over hot coals, they have to go through that. And then they step off and they feel like they can walk on water. They are so thrilled and happy because they've overcome this thing that's so scary and that is dangerous, right? It really is dangerous. So I guess it's kind of like jumping out of an airplane or doing things like that. You're kind of like making yourself terrified to see how your body and how your mind is going to react to that fear because it's totally absolutely like understandable to be terrified when you're up, the plane is getting altitude, and then they open the door and you're supposed to jump out of it. It's just crazy. I can't imagine ever doing that. And so yeah, I don't think I would like that at all. I really don't. I think I'd be really unhappy if I ever had to jump out of a plane. um, but you know what? We also we have like a lifestyle where we're like, maybe I would be happier if I had that, or if I went here, or I talked to that person. And sometimes, just being happy with what you have is actually, not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to say, you know what, I have enough, and also I am enough. I'm not like always having to search for something that is outside of me to complete me. And so I feel like, even when you get into a relationship, it's like you're complete in yourself and you meet someone who's also complete in themselves. And you just enhance each other. You bring out the best in each other. You challenge each other. You listen to each other. You provide comfort for each other. That's really important. And so I think that, you becoming more and more of yourself, it's kind of like that's the perfect time to meet someone is when you're already kind of like fulfilling your dreams and doing things in your life like you love, that you're not waiting for anyone to, in a sense, complete you. You don't have to because you're complete in yourself. So, Yeah, so dopamine, I just wanted to talk about that for a few minutes. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter and it plays a role in pleasure, motivation, and learning. So it sends signals to the brain that generate feelings of enjoyment and reinforcement. So whatever you're reacting to, your brain is releasing these chemicals and it makes you want more of it. And it makes you want more of the thing that's making the brain release chemicals. So, social media interactions like getting notifications, likes, comments, messages, follows, friend requests, all of that activate dopamine response. So, the randomness of rewarding social media stimuli leads to unpredictability that further increases dopamine production and leaves us wanting more. Dopamine release is amplified when the social media interactions involve receiving positive social feedback and approval from our peers. So it's even more of a dopamine hit if you're getting positive interactions from your peers, from people that you value their opinion. Over time, the dopamine hit conditions the brain to constantly seek these social media interactions, these little the dings on the phone when someone is contacting you, or like the notification that something that you care about is just happening, like you're getting a message back that you've been waiting for, or you just got a job that you really wanted and you have a notification, and that's really that's amazing, but our brain just really wants more. So over time, the dopamine hit conditions the brain to constantly seek these social media interactions. It learns to crave the dopamine stimulus. This self reinforcing dopamine loop is part of why people develop social media compulsive habits and addiction. It's incredibly how, like, I really feel like when I hear about people doing brain studies about dopamine and people of any age, but very much so like teenagers, preteens, young people, if they are growing up with these dopamine hits, like their brains are going to be different. They just are. Your brain is totally different if it's sort of like conditioned. Um, and that's kind of a scary thought because we want to think that we are very self determining, that we decide everything in our lives, that we are like the operator, and that everything yields to our will and the way we want things to go. And instead of feeling like we're hamsters running on a wheel and not realizing that we're hamsters or that we're running on a wheel, that's pretty bad. Um, so the dopamine response, it's immediate gratification, but then it also fades really quickly. So this leaves people continuously, like compulsively, checking sites for more social stimulation and dopamine hits. However, there are downsides when dopamine is overstimulated this way, including reduced mood between the dopamine spikes and decreased motivation for other tasks. That is true. If you ever kind of spend a Saturday morning just kind of on your phone and checking in with everything and everyone, it's sort of like it takes a little while to say, all right, I'm going to start my day. Like you have to almost like have a limit on what your time is spending on social media. I know a couple years ago when Apple came out with screen time, that I thought, well, why would people need that? Why wouldn't you just be on for like half an hour and then you just stop? And I've only realized, like in the last year, I think that, yeah, it's really good to know your screen time, because I think that sometimes there's weekends where I'm like, I just don't think I'll go outside today. And I think I'll just, learn things from YouTube videos and things like that. And it's okay to do that for a little while. But I think that that decision, I'm going to go out and do something, do something, some errand or whatever, or just go for a drive or go for a walk. It's so healthy to let your brain have that break from that constant dopamine stimulus and just watching screens for hours, right? So it's good to know about it. Overall, the neurochemical processes involved in the social media dopamine hit shed light on both the compelling nature of these platforms and the reasons why many struggle to step away from them. So, moderation and also awareness is key. I remember just a week or two ago, I realized that, I was listening to some creators talk about YouTube. And so they were saying that YouTube is rewarding people who get people to come from outside of YouTube, which is everywhere else, to come into YouTube and to stay for a while. So they're rewarding the creator who can bring in people who weren't even on YouTube to watch YouTube, whether it's theirs or whether they eventually start watching other people's YouTube shows. That is rewarded because YouTube wants to get you into YouTube and then keep you there. So I thought, wow, that's an interesting perspective because it's just so much bigger than I thought. Like I thought that you just make videos and you can talk about what you want and you can connect with people and build a community. And that's all true, but you kind of forget that it's also kind of a business, I guess, in terms of like what YouTube wants to accomplish. So I often forget that there's like a business behind everything and that business decisions are always being made about what the algorithm is searching for and what is being rewarded by YouTube. It's good to know. I mean, it's really good to know like what the algorithm is rewarding, but it's also good to do those things that are rewarded by the algorithm. So if the algorithm says that, this certain length of video or this type of video does really well, then, yeah, you can look at that. You can start kind of building content in that direction. Um, and great, if more people watch your channel and all that, then that's great. But I feel like you don't want to lose your creativity though. Like you want to be still authentic to who you are and to try to remain that way as you're building your channel because I've heard lately that some YouTubers are kind of leaving the platform because they're getting burnt out or they feel like it doesn't mean the same to them as it did, and I really feel like it's all depending on how you're approaching YouTube and how you are thinking about and having fun creating your content. Like this is my absolute favorite thing to do in my whole life is to produce shows. So I'm just really lucky and really grateful for this opportunity. And I just hope that if something I say makes your day a little bit better or makes the situation a little bit better. That would be an amazing thing because I really truly want to help people and help people to maybe voice, if they're going through something and to share it with community and to see, could we help each other, get through things, right? As I said in my last show, I said, we're all just really walking each other home. And I just think that's such a lovely image and a lovely thought. And so I've kind of like, yeah, that's all we're doing. And it's just so sweet, isn't it? That's just really sweet. So I want to talk about, why do people crave connection with social media? Um, Loneliness, absolutely. Social media provides an illusion of connection. This can temporarily ease feelings of loneliness, but often leaves the person feeling more disconnected in the long run. Social comparison, people have like an innate drive to evaluate themselves in relation to others. Social media enables constant comparison, often making people feel that their connections and lives are somehow inferior to what they're seeing. Fear of missing out, of course, is amplified on social platforms where we consume very curated content about others' lives. This drives compulsive checking for social updates. Validation seeking. This is really true. I remember Oprah said, we're all just looking for validations. No matter how successful and famous people are that she met, they would still look at her and say, "Did I do all right? Was that all right?" And I totally relate to that. Likes, comments, provide external validation. The brain absolutely releases dopamine when we receive positive feedback and approval from our online peers. Superficial communication also. Social media interactions tend to lack depth. This leaves users craving more meaningful human interactions, connections, further perpetuating social media use. And boredom. Mindlessly scrolling platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok becomes a habit when people are bored and looking for distraction or entertainment. The nature of digital platforms, their endless auto leading feeds keep people consuming more content. Pull to refresh and notification reels, they just reel people right back in. So while social media has its benefits, absolutely, many pitfalls lead its users to crave real human connection. Being mindful of deeper social and psychological needs underlying these cravings is important. So, what is this? Chris, is that you? That's crazy. Okay. You're are you just trying to distract me at this moment? Um, Here are some of the ways that excessive or unhealthy social media use can actually contribute to something like depression. The social comparison, constantly seeing other people's lives who look so much more better and exciting and all that can really lead to self comparison and low self esteem. Distorted views. Social media shows idealized versions of people's lives that don't match reality. This can distort perceptions of the world. Negative social interactions, conflicts, meanness, isolation, trolls, lack of meaningful engagement on social platforms can negatively impact mood. Yeah, like I will now not watch certain channels because I just don't want to have my energy just drop, like to feel anger, to feel frustration about things that I can't really change. I'm actually better off sort of like focusing on what I can change and making a positive influence in my immediate circle and in people that I come across in my life. So, yeah, FOMO is a real thing. Seeing experiences you're missing out on can foster feelings of loneliness, inadequacy, and resentment. A lack of real connection. Superficial social media interactions don't provide the depth of an in person social bonding that humans need for well being. We really need to be part of something to feel like we belong to something. I think that's so deeply important to our whole soul. Um, yeah, like it's not real. Addictiveness, compulsive use fueled by dopamine hits, impedes engagement in other activities and relationships that enhance mood. Sleep disruption. This is a big one. That kind of blue light makes your brain go, I'm awake, like it's like ding, like you're awake because of that blue light. And so I know we're told that at least for the last hour before you go to bed, try not to look at any screens. And that's really hard to do because sometimes we want a screen on so we can kind of fade off into sleep. And what I do instead is I put on a YouTube video of something that I want to listen to. I turn my phone upside down and then I put in like earphones and I just listen. And somewhere in there, I kind of fade off into sleep, but I definitely don't want to look at a blue screen. I don't want my brain to wake up. So It's probably a good idea to find a podcast that you like something like Calm or something that's like fireplace crackling or something like that. And then you aren't really paying attention. You're not really thinking. You're just kind of like fading off into sleep. So people that already have mental health vulnerability, their situation might be worse than actually with social media. I think it can make some of their experiences and symptoms and feelings worse. So I think that, for most of us, really, just get out and enjoy your life as much as possible. You could read an actual book that doesn't need Bluetooth. Um, just try to enjoy like life around where you are, enjoy the people. Definitely studies have been done that having a pet is very stress reducing, and it really kind of like brings you back to yourself, instead of like thinking about your work all the time, or um, you know watching shows, binge watching several in a row. It's kind of nice to go out and just walk the dog, because it gets you away from all of that. It's really a welcome respite from that constant consumption. So rumination is something that psychologically it's not good for us. It's where it's repetitive worrying about, like, just having chronic anxiety and thinking negatively about things. This rumination can trigger feelings of hopelessness that contribute to depression. People with anxiety and depression often avoid and withdraw from activities, relationships, and pursuing goals, even things that they used to really love, to avoid triggering anxious feelings. This avoidance and isolation fuels depression. Sleep also is difficult for people that are experiencing depression. Anxiety makes it difficult for people to fall asleep and actually stay asleep. And then that sleep deprivation makes mood problems worse. And the depression, uh, it's easier to feel depressed if you don't have enough sleep and you're feeling really edgy and you can't seem to relax. Anxiety often damages self esteem as well, because the inability to cope, to do useful, things that you really should be doing or could be doing, then you feel even less worthy. Fatigue is also a major factor, that if you're just exhausted and you can't get enough sleep and you can't rest and you're just worried all the time, that strain of chronic anxiety, it's exhausting. So then your mental energy makes it hard to manage emotions, and then all you feel is like negative thinking. So there's some biological factors where they can be some shared genetic and brain chemistry factors underneath anxiety and depression. But you know what? Anxiety and depression, they don't always lead one to the other. Treating the anxiety may alleviate or prevent depression from getting worse, or perhaps from developing. So it's very important to seek help, talk to someone. Don't be afraid to reach out, call a hotline if you don't know who to talk to. We have mental health professionals who are available online. I think that's so great. If they are qualified and they are credentialed, you can check out their background and make sure that the person that you're going to be talking to is um, properly trained and experienced. And then you won't have to even leave your home to speak to someone who can help you, who can listen, and to give you feedback on, are these thoughts that you're having, are they even true? Is there anything that they can do to help you to look at things with realistic eyes, and not like this negative, awful doom sort of feeling that you can often have on your own. So I really hope that there's a little bit of good that comes from talking about this. And thank you for allowing me to just give some ideas, some things we can do to help one another, because I don't want any of us to feel like they don't have anyone to listen to and that no one cares. That's never true. There's so many of us who care and who want things to be a little easier for each other. And we're happy to help and talk and get each other the help that we need. So, but yeah, thank you for listening. I hope that you're all right. I hope that you can get some hope and some promise and comfort from these conversations. Truly care, and if you want to write in with things that you're worried about or that you're concerned about, I'll see if I can actually address them. But thank you for spending time with me and helping my dream to come true. Thank you so much.